So I was talking about Moses, Exodus chapter 34, verse 29, is talking about Moses' face was shining. I was trying to say Paul is like the Moses of Christianity, or twisted version of Paul is Christianity's Moses. And I'm here to tell you, even if Paul was speaking against the Torah, he in no way compares to Moses in any way, shape, or form. Moses' face was shining so bright that they had to cover his face. Paul saw a light so great that he was blinded. He lost his eyesight. The only person that had a better glory on his body than Moses was Yahushua, the Messiah, when he went up and had the transfiguration. Remember that story? Where he went up and his clothes changed before the eyes of his disciples. And who did he see?
Moses and Elijah.
Moses and Elijah. We didn't get to Elijah yet, but we're going to get there. But who did he see? He saw Moses. There's a reason that there was this divine appointment on that mountain when Yahushua was transfigured and had a greater glory. But we're going to show to you that the former covenant, the former conditions, the former marriage covenant, the marriage vows, the terms of those covenants have not changed for the most part. There is something that changed in that covenant, and we're going to show you the context of what did change. There is something that changed between that covenant and the covenant we're in right now. And we're going to show you that. But it's not the 10 Commandments. And it's not a lot of the commandments that you think they are. And we're going to show you, okay? And so far, the commandments that I'm going to just summarize it. Some of the commandments that we're getting in talk about holidays, feast days to keep. Talk about the 10 Commandments, which includes the seventh day of the week, the Sabbath, day of rest. We explained that.
Profaning his name.
Not profaning his name. We're going to get into that as well at some point. Not making other covenants. Okay? Not worshiping other gods. Idolatry. All right? Food laws. There's things about what to eat, what not to eat. What to wear, what not to wear. How to have your house and how not to have your house. So there's a lot of commandments. A lot of things that are important that are not difficult. They're really not difficult. All right? You just got to read it for yourself. We're not going to do the homework for you. You have to read it. All we're trying to do is spark an interest to actually dig back in to the Old Testament, and to read it with a lens, believing that the commandments that you're reading has not been done away with, except for a select few that we are going to identify and help you identify.
And not because we're picking or choosing, but because scripturally,
right,
there's prophecy that talks about it. So we'll get into that.
There's proper order. There's a protocol. There's ways things are done. A kingdom is ran in a specific way with specific protocols. And if something is out of line with any of the protocols, it does change some of those dynamics. And so we're going to get into that. Where are we at?
35.
Chapter 35.
So beginning, yeah. So basically the beginning of chapter 35 in Exodus speaks about the Shabbat. And I'll go into, I'll read it. Because the Sabbath is highlighted so many times, it's not even funny, it's beautiful.
Think about it. People got stoned for not keeping the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. There was a death penalty for not keeping the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say this now. It's probably a little premature. But when we get there in Matthew, I'm not supposed to be it's hard not to cross-reference when we're doing a video. It's easy not to cross-reference when we're just writing text. But Matthew chapter 5... starting at 17, when it talks about those who keep the least of these commandments and teach men to keep the least of these commandments, they will be great in the kingdom. And those who break the least of these commandments and teach men also to break them will be called least in the kingdom. I don't believe that keeping the Sabbath is one of the least of the commandments if people got killed for it, for not obeying it. All right? So it's something to really consider. You got stoned for being homosexual. You got stoned for adultery. Mm-hmm. All right? And I know you're thinking about a lot of passages in the New Testament right now that makes it seem like these ain't a big deal no more because, you know, Yahushua said, don't throw a stone. Whoever's without sin, cast the first stone and all this stuff. But we're gonna really dissect. When we get to the New Testament, we are gonna give you context, okay, for that. But right now, I'm gonna let you know right now, Moses established judges. He established judiciary positions for how to take care of legal matters, and this includes stoning. You couldn't stone somebody without these proper people in their places. This is a government position. You can't lock somebody up in prison without having a trial and without having police officers and without having a court system and a judge and an attorney and a whole jury. There's a protocol in the United States of America. If you take away the court system, if you explode and bomb all the courts and you get rid of all the police officers, there's going to be chaos. There's chaos. And it would be very difficult. It would be very difficult. Let's say another country took over our country and they have different laws than we do. It would be very difficult to uphold our American laws with another country's laws upon us, with a different court, with a different set of laws, different police force, different morality. It's going to be hard for us to uphold our morality. It's difficult. We can't do it. It wouldn't be proper unless you're asking for trouble. So rightfully so, it is inappropriate for us who are not in our proper land. And I'm going to show you the context. We're going to get into it, but I'm just letting you know right now. You can't stone people in America. You can't do it. You can't just be a neighbor and be a regular guy and get a stone and want to stone somebody. You have to take them to a Torah observant court system with the right people in place. Okay, but anyway, we're going to get into that. And when you stone, and part of the commandments of adultery is you have to stone both parties involved. You don't stone just one person. Very important to consider. We're going to get into that in the future. Okay, anyway, I'm done. I'm done with that. Let's go.
I'm going to read verses 1 to 3 in chapter 35.
Chapter 35, 1 to 3.
Read
on!
Then Moses assembled all the congregation of the sons of Israel and said to them, these are the things that Yahuwah had commanded to do. For 6 days work may be done, but on the 7th day you shall have a set-apart day, a Sabbath of complete rest to Yahuwah. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall not kindle a fire in any of your dwellings on the Sabbath day. Sabbath is very important. I mean, he's defined the parameters of the Sabbath basically when he first made creation, and he set apart the 7th day. He rested.